Hello, my name is Daniel, founder of Later CPA and Associates, and welcome back to our Instagram Live series, where we are talking about building a successful private practice from beginning to infinity. Now, welcome back, everyone. Knock, knock. Who's there? Depreciation. Depreciation who? Don't worry. I'll explain it over the next 5 years, just like your accountant would. All right, now let's get into the topic for this week. Now, prior to this, we have been focusing on simply starting and getting your business set up. We're entering a new phase of this series where we are going to be talking about growing your business. So let's get started. First topic we want to hit on this time, expanding your mental health practice by adding a location or via telehealth. So let's get into it. First off, as your business is growing, you might already be thinking and pondering the idea of growing your business, making it bigger, having multiple locations, brick and mortar locations, or going into the internet sphere and expanding without borders. All good things to consider. The purpose of this session is to talk about the things you want to think about, the questions you want to ask. I'm not going to provide any answers. I'm going to give you the questions that you should be asking yourself and your tax professional in order to help you expand. So first off, why would you want to expand? Well, good question. Why would you want to expand? There's a couple reasons. If you're expanding your physical locations, you're increasing your accessibility to clients and helping to grow your revenue. You're also attracting a different grouping of clinicians who might work with you in a different physical location. So those are things to consider. You might also be considering helping to meet the mental health demands in an underserved area. That's a great reason to expand. Also, expanding helps to diversify your income streams. One location may have different peaks and valleys of its revenue cycle than another, helping to offset and making your business more stable. So those are all good reasons to expand. Now let's talk first about a new physical location. Let's assume you've already got your office, site A. You're looking at site B for your office. Where do you want site B to be? Well, think about it. Do your research, do your market research. You're looking for areas where there will be a demand. You're looking for areas and considering the competition already there. You're also looking for ideal locations. You don't want your office in the industrial district. Or maybe you do, but why would you want your office in the industrial district? Wouldn't you be happier if it was closer to a school, near office areas, near residential areas? Things to consider, things to plan for. Also, looking at another physical location, you got to have the financial planning in place so you can understand the impacts of the increased expenses of another place. You need to be able to budget for your rent, your utilities, the additional staffing that's going to be required for this new location, marketing to promote that new location. Finally, you'll need to look at your legal and licensing rules. States, cities, counties, they might require you to have a license for that location to operate there as a business. Look into that. Last thing you want to do is open a business and then find out months, maybe years later, that the city is not happy you didn't tell them you had a business there. That's not a piece of mail you want to get. Also, lastly, with a physical location, you need to consider the hiring needs. Is your location close to the clinicians that you want to work there? Or is there a large population of clinicians there who can work there? You can move into an area that might have a low number of licensed clinicians, and then you'll have a real hard time hiring someone to travel into that location. Or find a location where there are a number of licensed clinicians. Then it's a lot easier to hire them. Same goes for support staff, admin staff. And then lastly, you have to consider the culture of your team. You've been developing your culture at your current place. Now you got to think, how is that going to interact with the new place? Are they completely separate? Are they intertwined? Those are still things to consider. Now we talked about expanding into a physical location. Let's talk about expanding into telehealth. So telehealth, the internet, it allows us to work without borders. And it's great. It's fantastic. But those without borders still come with some requirements you have to follow. First off, are you doing telehealth into other states? We no longer have a distance limit when we're using telehealth. But as many of you clinicians know, if your clients are in other states, there's a good chance you're going to need to get licensure in that other state. So that's another thing to consider. It's something that restricts some clinicians from being in multiple states. They'll usually pick 1 or 2 or maybe 4 or 5, but it will rarely be all 50. So that's another thing to consider, is the licensure requirements that you're going to be facing when you go telehealth. Also, you need to look at your technology. Is your technology HIPAA compliant? You're going to be working on the internet, meaning documents will be online. Your sessions will be online. Do you record your sessions? Is everything you do HIPAA compliant? That's another thing to consider. It's a lot easier to be HIPAA compliant with 2 people in an office. It's harder over the internet. So check your technology. Make sure that your insurance make sure that the insurances you're working with are also happy with you working on telehealth. You don't want that you don't want to find out a surprise later that they weren't particularly happy with you being on telehealth and taking clients from other states. Now also, marketing your telehealth services. That's an interesting question. How do you want to market? You will have the benefits of word of mouth marketing for your local areas, but if you want to expand into a new area, how are you going to market your services there? How are you going to let people know you are open for business? So marketing and educating your potential clientele, that's another thing you want to consider. So we talked about the questions you want to ask about either opening a new physical location or going into telehealth and having a remote location. Now, I'm a tax guy. Let's talk about the tax side of things. To me, that's the most exciting part and the most frustrating part, but most exciting part for me. So the tax implications. Now, first off, you are opening another location. Let's talk about brick and mortar. You're going to have additional expenses, tax deductible expenses. Track your expenses. Now, pardon me, you might be considering the question of, should I rent a new office space? Should I buy a new office space? Those are excellent questions. They have giant tax impacts. Talk with your tax professional. Make sure you understand what the implications are. Make sure you know what happens if you rent a place, what that does to your taxes versus knowing what buying a place does to your taxes. Important things to consider. When it comes to telehealth, the taxes get actually more complicated. Not too complicated. I don't want to dissuade anyone, but they do get more complicated. If you are doing telehealth and you begin expanding into other states, you have to consider the tax implications of those other states. You might have to register your business in those states. Those states may want to collect income tax from the income earned from those states. A couple states have something like a sales tax, which they may assess on your activities in that state. And if you're coming from a state that has no sales tax or something like a sales tax on mental health services going into a state that does have a tax like that, it's going to be a complete surprise to you. So do your research, talk with your tax professional, have them involved in your plans about expansion, and they can help demystify a lot of these kinds of things for you. Now, as far as putting these plans into action, we all have a dream. We all have a dream of massive expansion, becoming a well-established, successful business with multiple locations or a firm online presence. We all have that dream, but a dream is just a dream unless you've got a plan in place. So begin working on a timeline. Begin working on a plan, a strategy for when this expansion can happen. Answering these questions will help you know what kind of timeline you can put in place. Now, you may have that, assuming you have that timeline in place and you're ready to start your expansion, start it out, test it out, do a little pilot test first. Maybe in that location you want to move to, rent a small place near there, or rent from the current place you might buy the building for a month or two and test it out. See if it is what you want. If you're going telehealth, test it out. That's a little bit harder to do because you have to be established, but test it out. Make sure it is a direction you want to go. Now, while you're testing it, monitor everything. Monitor how many clients are interacting with your new place. Monitor the financial performance, the client demand, how much you're spending on marketing for the area. Look at all that information. Talk with your tax professional to help you understand and put it together. That way you can have a picture. You're not going in blind. You're doing a little test and seeing if things are going to work out the way you hope they do. Now, obviously, no plan, no strategy survives contact with reality. So, as you start doing this, you're going to discover differences, changes, things that aren't the way you expect them to be. Adjust your strategy based on feedback you're receiving from your data, advice you're getting from professionals you're working with. Adjust your strategies. Expanding is a fantastic strategy, but it won't go the way you expect it to the first try. So you got to adjust. You got to evolve and be ready and quick on your feet. Now, we talked about a lot of things. Like I said at the beginning, I wasn't going to give you any answers. I'm giving you more questions to ask and think about when you're ready to expand. So if you have any questions about this topic, what we've talked about, go ahead and either comment on this video, DM me directly, and I'll respond as I'm able to. If you would also like to schedule a 30-minute call to go over your business, your tax strategy, your financials, go ahead and DM me. We'll send you a link. We'll begin talking about your business and your situation. And we'll talk more about our Financial 360 service that we do. Go ahead and follow and subscribe and look out for our tax advice we put up and event notifications for future events we're doing. Go ahead and visit our website, latercpa.com. I will see you all on the next video. Have a great weekend and keep helping others to help themselves. Bye-bye.